Happy Veterans Day, everybody, even though I'm posting this the day before Veterans Day. Being a veteran myself, I want to thank you for your service, but personally, I'm finding it more and more difficult to be proud of my service, mostly because I'm wondering what was I defending? Now, I had a whole bunch of things I wanted to say that I wrote down last night, but the crux of the matter is this. Our elected representatives here in San Francisco want to give you the idea that San Francisco is going to be the AI capital of the world, but that's pure bullshit. This whole AI revolution is something that can take place in your living room. And we don't need another .com event here in the Bay Area. We saw what happened last time. Let's not repeat it. Us techies came along for the most part to make the world a better place. And there were companies that recognized our genius, but they didn't seem to recognize the benefits we could provide to the world and seemed to only see the money they could make off our expertise. That's fine as far as it goes, but by 2010, it became obvious to me that unless I was willing to embrace the idea that the objective to have the finer things in life at the expense of the people who didn't have these skills, and agree to let that idea, the idea of exploitation, become normal, there was no place for me in that world. So I quit and I became part of the exploited class. I became one of the ones who were happy to give their talents freely for the good of the world and peck at the crumbs left for us by the emerging class of techies, earning as much an hour as many of us earned in a day, and to be grateful for it. And I was grateful. It didn't matter that I had the skills to help make the world a better place. And on the one hand, the employers I worked for, even the ones who hired me to do the non-techie things, seemed only interested in getting what they could out of me and never fully recognized my intention was to do a good job and my reward was that everyone succeed. As long as I could pay my bills, keep a roof over my head, have food to eat, and good intentions to share, I was happy. In the mid 90s, I was earning a boatload of money. And I said to people, let me teach you what I know so that you can make a boatload of money too. We can change the world. But in retrospect, their intention seemed to be, let me take the money from your pockets and put it into my pocket. But I was too naive to see it. Rent skyrocketed, and people with good hearts but empty pockets were left out in the cold. And I became one of those people too, as my computers became old, my skills unrecognized, and the fact that I was barely surviving didn't seem to matter to anyone I had burned the midnight oil for to produce software solutions for so many years. I didn't want to have any part of it anymore. And it's only been during the past 11 months when AI came along and I had 3 years of personal development training under my belt that I developed the confidence to venture out again to help create an environment where everyone could succeed. And now that's what I'm doing. And this is where you'll find me today. I redid my resume and I prepared to put myself out there. I couldn't believe that companies were willing to pay outrageous amounts of money to people like me. But my question was the same as it was 30 years ago. What about the people at the bottom? As the so-called pandemic got underway and everybody was being locked down and essential workers were told to get a jab or we'll take your money away, I thought it odd that a mountain of empty commercial space was available, and yet there were people left sleeping on the streets with nowhere to go, and our elected representatives had only one thing on their mind. How can we get the workers back in these cubicles where they belong? Living in close quarters with immigrants that came here to enjoy the American dream looked at me suspiciously. What's this white guy doing here? They asked. But I wasn't some white guy. I was an American just like them. And they weren't people of color or immigrants. They were Americans too. The only difference was I may have believed it more than they did. Eventually, I signed up for the food stamp benefits and the government handouts like everyone else. And I voted for Donald Trump, who to me epitomized the American dream. I remember he one time said, what do you have to lose to the people at the bottom? And instead of embracing the invitation to make America great again, they called him racist. They called him evil, and they lumped everyone who saw his vision for a better future as conspiracy theorists and crackpots. Meanwhile, the mainstream media and elected representatives said their goal was affordable housing and justice for people of color. From my perspective, it seemed to be a total contradiction that these people were saying they're creating affordable housing, but the affordable housing they were building was out of the price range of most people. And at the same time, the rents went up every year. American independence seemed to be vanishing, and young people were pooling their money together to have a piece of the American dream and signing home loans, which would put them in perpetual debt, a slave to the system. Then Joe Biden comes along to restore the soul of America and took hard-earned American tax dollars and sent it to the most corrupt nation in Europe. He said China was a friend, but then he turned around and stabbed them in the back and blamed them for COVID, when it seemed to me to be our own scientists, not theirs, that created this madness. Anthony Fauci disappeared like Bart Simpson disappeared into the hedges, and Pfizer, they succeeded in getting their garbage vaccine in the arms of young people, else they couldn't go to school. And as they dropped like flies, a combination of God knows what was in those needles and simple confusion due to years of brainwashing led them all to believe that a man could be a woman and that genocide was somehow a Christian value. I truly reached my limit, which brings me to the fourth industrial revolution, and that's really what this video is all about. There is a possibility to leverage AI and web technologies to put the future back in the hands of the people, and that's what I'm intending to participate in doing. AI isn't something we should fear, but it scares the hell out of the people who have been running the show and want everyone to believe that empowering the average individual is somehow a threat. And it is. It's a threat to them because AI exposes their ignorance in the matter. It threatens their control over each one of us, and they definitely don't want that. On my free Let's Do AI Things weekly group Zoom calls, I'm going to show you how to use these technologies to make your life better. And I have no idea what you're going to do with it, but it's an opportunity if you're willing to embrace it, and I hope you do. Now, I can only help 10 people at a time learn these things, and in the process, I'll earn enough money to keep a roof over my head and keep food on the table, and others can follow my lead and do the same thing. Or we can let the corporate interests and clueless elected representatives monopolize these technologies and keep us all in chains. My question to you is this: are you one of the 10 people who will become my client and help me start a chain reaction, the likes of which the world has never seen? Or will we all just give up like I did in 2010 and settle for the crumbs? It's up to you. So who are my 10 people? You could be one of my fellow veterans. You could be someone who thinks you're being discriminated against because of the color of your skin or your lifestyle. You could be someone who lives in some far off land. Doesn't matter to me. Everybody's welcome. All you have to do is sign up. As a veteran, I will tell you this: every single veteran who has served this country took an oath to defend this country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. We vowed to protect you whether you were young, old, gay, straight, male, female, white, black, and everything in between. We're not perfect, but we didn't stand for lying and cheating. And certainly most of us do not stand for the type of genocide we're seeing played out over there in Gaza right now. While it wasn't right for Hamas to come over and massacre the Israeli civilians on October 7th, it is dead wrong to continue the destruction of the homes of the civilians on the Gaza Strip. And as the president gets ready to send our young soldiers off to participate in this madness, they'll go because all of us took an oath to obey the commander-in-chief. I hope it doesn't come to that, but nothing really surprises me anymore. In the meantime, let's do AI things. Click on the link in the description and sign up, and I'll see you on the call. And happy Veterans Day. And thanks for listening.